Hey guys, what's going on? So today I'm going to talk to y'all about OCD and how to get rid of it. So let's get started. OCD, what is it? Well, OCD is when someone experiences a level of anxiety and they do a compulsion or ritual to alleviate that anxiety. I'll give you a couple of examples. First example, the most prominent example, in fact, is germ anxiety. So people feel that they're constantly dirty, so they have to consistently wash their hands. The problem with, I mean, that you may think to yourself, oh, well, that's not a problem. I sometimes feel dirty, and I want to, and I wash my hands, and it goes away. But the problem is this: for the OCD sufferer, they never feel clean, no matter how much they wash or shower. They can shower for the whole day continuously. They can be washing their hands the whole day continuously, and they still will be dirty. The thing about OCD is it's very irrational, and OCD sufferers know it's irrational, but yet they still continue doing these irrational behaviors. Another example of OCD could be a good way to coin it is double checkers. So you have to constantly be double checking something. Uh, Double checking something could be making sure you turn off the lights before you go to bed, or checking to make sure that you lock the door before you go to bed, or checking to make sure that you turn off the stove before you go to bed. See, regular people, they check it, they know it's off, and they go to sleep. OCD sufferers go check it, make sure that everything is completely off, take like an hour to make sure it's off, and then go to sleep, and then wake up throughout the whole night, double checking to make sure it's completely off. And it's very debilitating, and it's very troublesome, and it can really mess up somebody's life. Um, there's also a hit and run OCD where people could be driving, they hit a speed bump, and they think they might have hurt someone or an animal, and they go back and drive to double check they didn't hurt anyone. So as you can see, it's very it's very troubling. You know, you have things to do. You shouldn't have to be worrying about stuff like that or being scared of driving, and it can be a hindrance on one's life, to say the least. So I'm gonna give you guys the theory behind it, and then I'm gonna give you two ways to alleviate the problems. All right. So first, here comes the theory. All right, OC, where does it come from? No one really knows, and if you think about it, it makes sense that no one knows. I mean, we're barely beginning to understand the depths of the brain and what it does, so we really actually have no idea where it comes from. All right. That's from what all the readings I've done and people I've talked to. I don't think anyone knows, or there's this consensus of where it comes from. Many people say it's hereditary, which I think is true. It's hereditary, but I don't think your mom or dad or your grandparents had to have had it for you to have it. You know. So uh, and then there's like this a second theory that kind of came about like in the 90s when Sigmund Freud like came out with all of his when he came out with the study of psychoanalysis. So I really like that theory, and I think a lot of people dumb down Freud and think he's crazy, but I think he has a lot of truth in what he's saying. I think he has like this a lot of like empirical data, and this is his theory behind why this empirical data is true. Um, his theories behind it could be questionable, but I really think he had something going there. So so I'm gonna tell you where OCD stems according to Freud. So Freud believes that throughout our lives, when we're first born, we go through these phases. I'm not gonna go through the phases. Just go to the ones that lead up to the phase that we're going to talk about. So when you're born, you have this thing called oral fixation, where you develop like senses in your lips and your tongue, and you just love to taste. And it's like very, I guess in a way, it's very erogenous, and you get like this libidinal satisfaction by like tasting things. So then you move on to the next stage, and the next stage is your anal stage, and that happens between the ages of 18 months to 3 years of age. And in this sort of age is when you begin to consciously be able to like excrement, like you can poop, right? So your parents like potty train you, right? But the problem is that human beings, or according to Freud, is that children, babies, experience like this huge amount of like pleasure, like withholding excrement in their bowels, and but what ends up happening is that their parents are teaching them to be potty trained, right? So they end up having to be forced to like excrement, and it's very troublesome for the child because the child like he or she like just experiences this newfound pleasure, like, oh my gosh, this feels so great, but their parents are telling them, no, that feeling is bad, you shouldn't feel it, you should like let it go and release it. And the child is very stubborn at the beginning to do it, but he eventually succumbs and he does do it because he knows that he doesn't want to lose the love of his parents, because his parents take care of him. And so this draws parallels to OCD, because what ends up happening is the child is presented with this anxiety, right? What is this anxiety? Losing the parents' love, right? How does he alleviate this anxiety? Well, he does a ritual, which is the toilet training that he goes through. So that is the general gist of Freud's view about. And then I'm sure you've heard the phrase, oh, quit being anal, you know. So I mean, it comes from anal fixation, because what happens is they have to do a ritual, right, which is the toilet training, and they have to make sure the ritual is completely right and correct, you know. So that's Freud's view on it. And there's many other things that stem from anal, like fixation, or there's many things that occur in the anal phase, but we're not going to get into that right now because we're just talking about OCD. But it's very interesting. You have the time, you should look into it. Very, very interesting. Each of those phases are very interesting. A lot of biological, neurological things happen to you, and I feel that knowing them would help us better understand ourselves. So we can understand ourselves, we can better take care of ourselves and have more enriched lives and take care of others and understand one another. So, all right, here's the first way to get rid of OCD. The first way is called ERP, which is exposure response prevention. So basically, OCD sufferers experience an anxiety, and that anxiety increases until you do a ritual. But what you have to do is to kind of finally alleviate yourself from this anxiety is you're going to have to like tackle this anxiety head on. So you're going to have to endure the anxiety to want to like turn off the lights or wash your hands. And once you endure that anxiety, it will eventually like go away. And the next time you feel compelled to wash your hands, the anxiety level is going to be much less than the first time. And then you continuously like refuse to give into the ritual, and then it will eventually go away. So the way I think about it is, at the beginning, I'm going to use washing your hands as a good example, but it's applicable to every sort of OCD that's out there. So in the beginning, you may feel some level of anxiety, right? And you feel really compelled to do a ritual, but you don't do the ritual, and then the level of anxiety it's like curved. It's exactly like a bell curve. It'll reach like a maximum point where it's like the super heightened state of anxiety. Like, I need to wash my hands. I really, really need to wash my hands. But you endure that. You hold it. You keep it inside of you. You don't react to it. And then the anxiety is going to go down to zero. And then your level of anxiety towards like washing your hands will probably go down by like 50%. And then the next time you feel like washing your hands, it's going to go down to like 45, and then the next time it's going to go down to 40, go 30, and 25, and then you just get into the habit of dealing with this anxiety. It's going to eventually go down to zero. You still might feel these urges to like complete these rituals, or you still might feel the anxiety every now and then, but you already know how to tackle it and it won't bother you. And thing is this, anxiety or OCD and like its rituals and like symptoms tend to be heightened with stress. So let's say you're taking a test, you might like experience OCD, you know, you might feel like compelled to like have everything in a certain position, or things outside of your peripheral vision, or you might feel compelled to like tap your test or say something repeatedly. But that won't be a problem if you learn to like ignore it, you know, because once you're taking your test and you're like, okay, well, Take a deep breath. I'm not going to listen to this. I'm not going to do any of these rituals. I'm going to focus on my test. And it won't bother you. You'll be able to focus on your test, which is really, really good. Second way to get rid of OCD is, this is an even more direct way, is directly attack your OCD. So for instance, I'm going to stick with the same example about dirty, like germs. So we know it's irrational. So what you want to do is you want to take it to like the next limit. You want to take it to the next step, I mean. So for instance, let's say you're constantly worrying about being dirty. So what you got to do is actually go against that concept and actually become dirty, right? Like maybe throw yourself on the grass, touch a toilet, like go extreme. Like get like a gum that you find on the floor and then just eat it. Put it in your mouth, right? I'm not saying you should do that, just like an example. So what happens is that once you start doing this, you'll realize that this is completely like irrational. This is stupid. This is idiotic, and your level of anxiety will decrease tremendously. You know. So those are two ways you can get rid of OCD. And there's this other form of OCD that I have not gone over yet. It's called intrusive thoughts, and I'm gonna go over it on another video because I feel that it deserves its own video in its own right. And I'm gonna go kind of like talk about OCD a little bit, but we're gonna go directly to talking about what it is and how to alleviate and hopefully how to get rid of it. So thanks for watching this vid. Check out my other vids. All right, peace out. Later.